Well, g'day guys, welcome to the channel. It's been a few days since I last took footage. There's just been a few little things going on. We've been cleaning a couple of things, just trying to get our lives back in order after a bit of mayhem. So first job for me today is I did actually wash this chaser bin out, gave it a quick clean on the outside too, and I'm going to take this down to the other main farm where the big dome shed is. That's sort of where it lives, or actually I'm not sure if we'll put it there or whether we'll put it in the machinery shed up here. Anyway, either or, I'll have to double check what we're doing with that. But and I'm going to go down to the other main farm where the weed it is, and I'm going to hook up to the weed it, possibly bring that back up here and work on it. So part of that is just making sure that all the nozzles are firing correctly. So you just load it up with water, and then you can go into test mode and you get a green leaf and you wave it in front of all the sensors and check that each nozzle's firing as it should. If that's the case, we have had some troubles with it in the last couple of years, but if it's all working fine like that, pretty much it's just tyres, check all the tyres, check over it, make sure there's no cracks, give it a grease, and yeah, hopefully she'll be good to go. But it is actually very windy today. You might have been able to hear. So yeah, there was actually a front coming through. We're meant to get a bit of rain today, and we're kind of, this is going to sound really bad, but we've actually been kind of hanging out for a bit of rain. Selfishly, of course, because there are some people around that are still doing a little bit of harvest, but yeah, it looks like the rain's gone to the south of us and there's a little bit to the north of us, but we haven't got any yet. So it's actually virtually didn't get any rain since harvest started. So yeah, everything's a little bit dry. It's hard when we want to spray because the weeds are all stressed from lack of moisture, so they're not absorbing the chemical, which isn't ideal. Still does a bit of a job, but not as good a job as it could. So yeah, we're just hanging out for, even if it was 10-15 mil of rain would make a big difference, and also for our own lawns and things like that. They always love a bit of water. Right, well, we put the chaser bin in that shed. There is a little bit of work we need to do to it at a later date. Yeah, we're nursing a bit of an injury on that. So we've also been just getting the offsets, just those small little offsets we've got. Yeah, just doing a little bit here and there where the wheel tracks are bad, just churning it up a bit, softening it up, and that way if we do get a bit of rain, it should help smooth it off, and we won't have these massive wheel tracks everywhere. But there's quite a lot of that needs to happen down at the other main farm, where the barley was in particular, but also where that little bit of wheat was. It needs a bit of attention as well. But anyway, I'm just heading down to pick up the weed it, and yeah, get cracking on making sure that's ready to go. Well, we made it. There's a fair bit of tidying up needs to happen in the shed over the next little bit. That's why there's wooden pallets and all sorts hanging around. But yes, nothing major that looks like needs to be done. It just needs a bit of a clean, and yeah, just a good checking over. So I've got the set of grizzlies here. I think Josiah's buried under there trying to deal with that. I think there's a bearing collapsed on it. But yes, it's going to be used a fair bit to level out the wheel tracks. How you going there, Josiah?
Pretty good.
You're greasing it, are you? Where's the collapse? Oh, Phil, that's rude.
Someone's got to work around here.
That's rude. Where's the collapsed bearing?
There's no bearing left.
Oh, that collapsed. Oh. So it's, yeah. So the dear old Chamberlain's had its heart hanging out trying to pull this, didn't it? Did it, Phil?
Yeah, well, I think you can fair to say it's not glazed up. She's had a bit of work pulling it, so
Might have to shout at some new rubber if you keep working it hard.
yeah. Probably the air conditioner's a little bit to be desired too.
It did have it one day, back in the day. It did have air conditioning. But
We're thinking we'll keep this on and the boys can use it in school holidays.
give them some lessons, hey?
Yeah, appreciate the newer machinery.
Yes. No, it's yeah, it's been a few years since this has actually seen anything other than an auger, isn't it? I remember prickle chaining with it quite a bit back, what, probably 10 years ago.
This was the main tractor back in the day.
Well, this was
Pulling the 6 metre gyral and that. And
yeah.
that was farming. They updated to this big machine.
She was
in
big,
the early 80s.
big girl in its day, wasn't it? And then it was a 555 after that.
Yeah, and that was just extravagant. Wasn't that much power.
220 horsepower was just too much back then.
Yep.
No, well that's good. Well, what's Brad up to?
Got him milling down the axle to fit the new bearing.
Oh yeah, bit different size.
Yeah, the older bearing styles they're outdated, so they're updating them to the newer bearing with the greasable bearing.
Yeah, righto. So that looks like it's a new bearing, and by the looks of it, that square bit there must be a different size. These ones are a bit older. So Brad's making some sparks here. Some early New Year's celebrations, is it, Brad? Yeah, that doesn't look like it's meant to do that.
No, the good one. It's just a crappy old shaft, so I'll try and
Use up the old cutting edges, eh?
all rust as well.
Alright. So once that's in, it's got the greasable, so grease nipple there. Then she'll be ready to go back into service. Well, you wouldn't believe it. We tested this with a bit of water going through it, and all the nozzles worked how they should. So the last few times we've tried, after it's been in storage for a little bit, yeah, there's always one or two that's playing up, but all of them seem to be working. But what I've got to do, and I've already half done it, but is this compressor here. It controls the pressure to this Ramsey valve, which is basically what maintains the right pressure for the whole system. So if this isn't working, like which the old one wasn't, then yeah, you can't build up enough pressure on this, and it makes life a bit difficult. But yeah, got a new one. I'm just halfway through putting that all together, and then it should be just about ready to go, that side of things. Just got to yeah, check all tyres, do all that sort of stuff. There might be a couple of little hairline cracks here and there we might touch up while we're here, but yeah, it's not as bad as I thought it'd be. Well, that's just about it for the day. I think we ended up with about 5 mil of rain or so. So just enough to wet the ground, make a few puddles, but it's all pretty well, the wind's all blown it away from being so windy, so that is drying things out very quick. But before we go, we're just getting organised. All our old batteries, scrap batteries that we've had, well, it's probably been over the last maybe 4 years. Yeah, we're just putting all them together on a pallet, wrapping them all up. We're going to take them into town, and that money from that can go towards the end of year harvest party. So that's where we just get a few people that have been involved, not necessarily just this year, but who are involved in the business, help out, whether it's truck drivers, people we contract for or have contracted for us, or whether it's, yeah, just different ones come together just as a way of saying thank you for everyone's effort and just being a part of the show here. So that's any money we get from these batteries are going to definitely help. So here's part of it. So there's a pallet full, it's stacked too high. This weighs, there's about a little bit over 900 kilos of actual batteries, actually, plus those two. So we're getting close to a ton, or 950 or whatever. So yeah, that's that. There's another little half pallet Dad's just weighing now, just wanting to make sure we're not going to go over what this trailer can legally carry. So we might have to take a few batteries out to make sure. So that was about 900 for that. What's this say? Yeah, so 530. Well, that'll be right. You can take 1.5 ton. Yeah, that'll be right. So you got 50 kilos up your sleeve, which those other batteries will be 50 kilos, so you'll be able to keep them on. That'll be 1.5. Oh, a perfect trailer load. So I'm not sure, there's some, I think the place we're taking them to actually weighs it. Some places just pay, say, $5 a battery, but we've got a lot of big batteries. So yeah, it's a bit more fair to yeah, do it just as a weight. So yeah, 1.5 ton of batteries. Hopefully we can yeah, hopefully we can get a bit for that, and that can go help pay for some food. Yeah, so I don't know what next is going on. I think Phil's gone for a bit of a play with the Chamberlain and the offsets just after they've been fixed up a bit. And the weeder is pretty well ready to go. I've been working on that a bit today. Josiah's just fixing up a bit of a bent section. So yeah, that's not too far. Should get finished up tomorrow, and basically I think that's going to be ready to go. I'm very pleased that that didn't need a lot of work to get going, so that's really good. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Well guys, it is time to spray a bit of a section here at the development block. So we've got one paddock that is going from organic to conventional, so we're going to be spraying that out. I've also got to patch out a couple other little areas where it had just been cleared, so there's a few more there was a bit more seed loading in the soil, and yeah, so that's pretty messy, so we'll get them sprayed, and just one of the normal conventional blocks. So yeah, I think it's probably about 200 hectares total. The rest of the paddocks basically have barely any weeds in it, so we only maybe spray that in maybe a couple of weeks or something after we get a bit more rain, to freshen everything up and the weeds get another weed flush through, and yeah, then it should be pretty good, I think, to do the rest of it. So these tanks were delivered maybe 3 days ago, something like that. Brad was just here yesterday and he was plumbing them all in. So the deal is, one of these is going to be bore water, well it is bore water, and this one here is going to be rainwater. So this tank's going to be linked to two massive water tanks that are going to be on the new shed, and yeah, so then we can actually spray with the rainwater. Rainwater actually works really well for spraying, and yeah, the chemicals do a better job. So where we can use the rainwater for spraying, but yeah, we've also got the bore water option here as well, and that means we don't have to have the sprayer all the way up near the shed where there's bits of machinery and everything. We can just come to this fill point, and yeah, we can have the pump set up here, and then we can easily, just with the new forklift we've got now, we can easily shuffle the chemical from the shed to here, and yeah, make it all, yeah, it should just work really nice. Because previously we had to yeah, go to either where the windmill used to be, or a bit further down here, and yeah, you just have to take trailers, and it was always a bit of an effort. So this makes it a lot more easier, and yeah, it's going to be good. So this tank here with the bore is just being fed from the bore down there, obviously, so it's on a float valve, and then we've got a little pressure pump that takes from that, and it'll go and feed there's a water outlet at the silos, and at the little cabin there's also that's on bore water at the minute. So yeah, that's the story anyway, but it is starting to get a bit windy, so I mightn't get much spraying done. It's obviously just a little bit worse here because I've got the trees here and the tanks. It's sort of creating a bit of a funnel for the wind, so yeah, it is a little bit more windy here than it is out in the paddock, but anyway, we'll just have to wait and see. Well, we're here down the far end of the development block, but this is where the windmill used to be, and yeah, so we have done quite a lot of I guess plumbing type water infrastructure work. So yeah, you can see the solar panel there. I'm not on the right angle, but yeah, there's a solar panel there. It's probably might be 2.5 by 2.5 meters or something, and yeah, then the bore pump's just right next to it. That's obviously feeding that black tank, and that's all. Yeah, so that's all automatic, and every time we come down here to spray, we should be right with a full tank there. And yeah, that's all been tidied up with the excavator there. There was a bit of scrap metal and stuff like that. So yeah, that's going to be good. I would drive over there, but I've got to keep spraying, and there's a big gully there, so it will probably make a mess, because we did get about 15 mil of rain a couple of days ago, which surprisingly it must have come down pretty quick, because there is puddles everywhere. It hasn't all been absorbed, so it's a little bit strange. Well, we've got the rock picker going again, so Josiah's on that, and yeah, he's been going on this little patch here for most of the day, I think. There is a lot of rocks, so it's yeah, taking a bit longer, but it's definitely quicker than doing it by hand, so that'll be good to get that little patch tidied up. The wind has died down a little bit, so I'm doing the third load for the day, and yeah, it's going to be good. Hopefully there'll only be one more load to do, maybe tomorrow, for the minute, and yeah, then we'll be set. Ah dear. Well, we've got a bit of a breakdown. The poor old house, and the last little very rarely, the last year or so, it seems to lose all its hydraulic function, apart from, say, the High Pro, so the pump, which is hydraulically driven, and yeah, so can't lift booms, can't do anything, and yeah, usually shut the motor off for a bit and let it sit for a few minutes, turn it back on, and it's ready and it's right to go. So we're wondering whether there's something in the tank that's blocking the inlet or whatever's happening. All the solenoids are working, so it's not electrical, but yeah, so I'm basically stranded here in the paddock because I tried to lift that boom up, but because there's no hydraulic flow, it actually went down, and it's in the ground there, so I can't even limp back home. So that's where we're at the minute, and I've only got another probably 5 hectares of this load to finish, and then there's one more load to go, which I was going to do tomorrow. But anyway, it is what it is. So I'm just going to get picked up, going to go home and sort it out tomorrow, I think. Well, it's another day, and the grasshopper has decided to work properly, so all the hydraulics are working again, and this is what's been the problem. Is we go to try and fix it, find out the problem, and it'll just start working. So it's very difficult to find a problem that is only there temporarily. You can go and pull apart absolutely everything to try and find a problem, but that is a lot of time and effort. So in some ways it's better if it just plays up and it stays playing up, then you can sort of trace back the fault. But anyway, I'm just going to finish off this load, and then there's one more load, and we'll just see if it keeps happening. If it's only very rarely, then that's probably okay, but yeah, I really don't know what we're going to do. If anyone knows these machines really well and has any ideas, please let us know. Well, what an eventful afternoon. So I wasn't filming when things were happening, but I'll just give a summary. What happened was, with the house I'm here, or the grasshopper as we call it, started it up from yesterday. So yeah, came back today, started it up, and the hydraulics were all working. Went down to fill it up, and then just nothing, like heaps of things weren't working. So it was like, what's going on here? And turned out that the alternator had decided to just melt the back end of itself, and meant that the battery was dead flat. which was odd because I'd only started it fine about an hour before. But anyway, I think the battery might be pretty well dead anyway. But so yeah, I did actually quickly take the alternator out and check it, and had to put it back in because it runs the water pump for the engine, so those same belts. And then we did have an old battery out of the excavator, and we just shoved it in there. It is a bit too big, but yeah, we just shoved it in there, and I was able to do the load of spray. I turned the air conditioner and everything off, so it was a little bit warm, but thankfully it's a fairly mild summer so far, so it wasn't too bad. And yeah, anyway, we got the job done, so that is the main thing. So I'm not sure whether I was only probably 4 hectares or so short, but we'll see. Yeah, who knows? I might tidy that off tomorrow, or I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll just wait and see. But yes, it's very, very nice, this shed so far. We're not quite set up properly, so yeah, there's no tools and that as such, but that overhang was so good because I couldn't use the hydraulic function. I was able to drive it straight in the shade, work on it, and yeah. But the other thing we've got is we do have a nice thick workbench. That's solid steel, so it's like 16 mil thick, I think, or maybe not quite, maybe it's 14 mil, anyway, something around there. But yeah, very solid workbench. So we've got that to go here, and then just another workbench on wheels. So we're just going to get a few things, accumulate a few things. It's probably going to be a little while before we actually get a proper setup in here. It'll just be bits and pieces as we go. Well guys, I think we're going to have to leave the video there for now. Just remember to hit the like button if you enjoy the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you in the next one.